All right. Hello, everyone. My name's ICED. I have a lot to talk about today. So this is going to be a Rivulet story that I'm going to be showing off. I'm going to assume that most people watching this run knows nothing about Rain World or otherwise, so I'm going to say a little bit. This is a survival platformer. Now, when you think about a lot of different games, well, when you look at this game initially, you may think about it being like Ori and the Blind Forest or Hollow Knight, but in reality is not really that much alike them. And additionally, when it comes to the movement, instead of you being a glorified square that has movement abilities, we are a creature with two body chunks that can be manipulated. So we'll be doing certain manipulation at certain times to help out with movement. Otherwise, when we are in a standing state, I can press diagonally down and jump to do a slide, and then a second jump to jump out of the slide. And that'll be some of the basic movement. That will be the base building blocks going forward. Now, basically to consider, if we were playing Celeste, it would be, instead of the dash being a single button, I have to press a combination of inputs. Otherwise, we're going to be playing as Rivulet today, which is the aquatic slug cat. We have much faster base speed. We're also playing Rivulet through the Downpour DLC, which is a DLC release, I believe, 2 years ago now. Wow, time flies. And I was very lucky to be able to work as QA for a little bit of Downpour. Very happy to be able to show it off here today. Now, I am ready to start. The timer is going to start as soon as the new game circle on the bottom middle here fills up. So we're gonna go 3, 2, 1, start. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about what's actually going to happen. There's a lot that happens in this game. I only have 47 minutes again. I have so much I want to talk about. It's not going to be enough time. So we're going to do the most important things for the Rivulet story run. Again, with the survival platformer. So with this game, in the bottom left, you see these circles filling. As I eat these fruit, we need to get past the bar to be able to rest. Because this is Rain World, rain will be happening, and rain is really bad. So after about, I believe it's somewhere between 4 to 6 minutes, the rain will come, and anything that's outside a shelter will die. And so we have designated shelters that we need to get to after eating a certain amount of food so we can hibernate through the rain, essentially. So right now, I'm getting a certain amount of food, and then I'm gonna be bringing some extra into the shelter so I don't have to eat it later. Now again, we are playing Rivulet. We are the much faster base speed slug cat. Additionally, we have much larger lungs when underwater. We are not immune to drowning, but we do deal with it much better than others. We are at our first shelter here, which allows us to save. Every time we save, our karma goes up. I'm gonna do a certain glitch called karma caching that allows us to go to whatever karma level we want, that being the symbol we'll see in the bottom left. Essentially, I'll be starving, and this will be forcing us to save improperly, and then I'll be quitting out. That'll just increase our karma and with no bad ramifications, and allows us to climb the karma ladder to get to the maximum karma we want, which will allow us to go through different gates, which are the transitions between different zones. Now, the one thing I've forgotten to talk about here is that our two commentators here, Whitepaaws is here from the Ori and Blind Forest community. I love the Ori and Blind Forest community. If you haven't seen the Covert Muffin run yesterday, I recommend it. Additionally, we have Rivulet here. Now, if you have any words of encouragement, now would be the time.
Wah wah.
Thank you. Do you have anything else to say as well?
Wah wah wee wah.
Oh, yes. All right. Thank you for the words of encouragement, Rivulet. Now, I quit out accidentally at a time I wasn't supposed to, but that is fine. So we gotta do one more of these. And again, with any glitches that exist in the game, with the Downpour patch, all of them were actually patched out, but the developers were kind enough to put in the vanilla exploits checkbox that we could check it, and it would bring most of them back, at least all the ones that were actually good and didn't crash the game. And so now that I am exiting and back to the maximum karma. We are ready to continue to go. I'm starting in an area called Drainage System, which is basically at the bottom of the world. We're going to be going into an area called Chimney Canopy, which has a new area with the DLC called the Gutter that is connected to the drainage system that we're in now. Now, if Whitepaaws, if you have anything to add, now would be a good time.
Yep. So on our way up, we see probably one of our first features here. This is the Scavenger. Scavengers are like the player-like equivalent creature in this game. So they act just like the player. They can grab spears. They can throw rocks. They're very smart. And they are based on a reputation system. Ooh. As Rivulet, we start with bad reputation. So we are Scavengers are most likely to target us and maybe kill us. So Scavengers bad, we want to avoid them at all costs. But over there, only a couple of them spawned. They generally travel in groups, so it's good to see only a couple. Then just to recap real quick, I also mentioned a lot of stuff about the movement earlier on, but our basics are, just to recap, slides, bounces, backflips, and rolls. Then you can combine a lot of these inputs together to make some really cool stuff, like, for example, the slides and slide bouncing, but you can also do wall bounces, which are essentially being fast enough. If you press diagonal into a wall and then jump at a certain time, you can wall bounce. Rivulet is so fast that Rivulet can just reach that speed naturally, so it makes wall bouncing a lot more lenient than it is with other characters, for example, but it is so fast, and you will see it a lot in this upcoming section as well. Now we are going to be talking about a trick called the ploink. So just to make things basic, we're going to be tricking the game into thinking we're going to be swimming outside. You're going to see this like kind of crazy warp that ICED is going to be setting up here, but in the gist of it, ICED is going to want to change to the all-force state as he lands into the water, and then he's just going to warp all the way up there. Now, if you want to take it over.
That's spot for this guy.
Creature.
So with Rivulet, there's two things I want to say. We're not going to run into too many creatures. That is Sign Lizard. That is one of them that can't show up. I'm going to do some wall pounces here. Additionally, because Rivulet is so fast, they have their natural counter that happens. That being, well, one, the spider grabbing me. Please go away. And the fact that with the cycle timer, normally you have somewhere between about 6 and 13 minutes before it rains, but Rivulet, I believe their maximum is either 4 or 6. I have forgotten exactly. I'm trying to do good chain up here. We got a decent chain, didn't go the whole way, that's fine. And so we're basically gonna be riding on the edge of that storm right at the end of this cycle and the last major cycle of this run. I say cycle as in the time before it rains and the whole system going through that. Now, doing some specific setups for some wall pounces and send-ups across. And again, as Whitepaaws said, Rivulet just has the natural speed to just run into walls and do wall pounces, so you can't do this easily, at least, on other characters, which makes Rivulet very interesting on that end. Additionally, because of the high base speed, the base movement, like the slides that I'm doing, I don't want this rock anymore, is a little bit both harder and easier because, oh, it's a party here today. Fine. I'm going to be setting up a specific turn storage here. There was a lizard there. Don't worry about it. And backflip. So I was talking about a few things. We'll talk about what just happened there. Essentially, to be able to do a backflip, you need to turn, but you can store the state of the turn under certain conditions. So I have to immediately turn, slide, and grab the pole, and that will allow us to keep the turn state and then be able to backflip off the pole, which you cannot normally. Back to what we were saying a second ago, Rivulet's base speed is so high that we actually get a lot of distance on our slides. And so in certain places where we'd be able to slide as other characters, we just slide too far and off an edge, so we can't do that as easily. However, Rivulet also has a bigger window for jumping out of its slides, so in a lot of ways it's easier because it's not as hard to perform a lot of the advanced movement. Now, talk about this game and why it's different from a lot of other games like Ori and the Blind Forest or Hollow Knight is because the game, when you start off, you're going to be taught the complete basics. You're going to be taught that fruit is food. You can pick up spears and rocks and throw them, and you're going to be taught how to do a basic pounce. We're not going to be doing a basic pounce at all because it is very slow. But all of this movement is stuff that you can figure out as you play the game, or otherwise learn from talking to people or looking at various resources about it. Almost fell off there. And we're gonna see a little bit something interesting here, that being a graffiti of GDQ. So one other thing, we get to see this graffiti. So these two were by an artist friend of mine named Proler, and that marks the beginning of our change of movement mechanics. So Rivulet is very much the change in movement mechanics constantly. We had a lot of the wall pounces a second ago. We're gonna have a lot of grappling with this grapple bug here. So we press jump to be able to grapple in the air, and if you wanna talk a bit more about that, Whitepaaws, that would also be good.
Yep. So this section here is pretty crazy. As you can see, the gray area at the bottom of the screen, this little gray gradient, means that if you touch that, you're essentially dead. But the grapple worm is a very powerful creature that there are two different ways of kind of moving around. There is this auto aim that you can do by pressing up right or up left.
Took that safe.
Yeah, very good. And then there is this, there is the, oh my god, the fixed angle that you can do by pressing just left or right, which is faster. It's what ICED is mainly going to be using during this section, just because you can gain some momentum off of that. This is a super scary part, but ICED got it down there super well.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to take it over from here.
Yep. I did some of that sliding down a bit slow, because sometimes I don't trust my keyboard. Even though I just got a new one, because it's very easy to go a little bit too fast. We're gonna see our first of the really annoying enemies there. So if you didn't already be able to tell, blue is bad and will kill you. And the giant moving guy will definitely be killing us. No more grapple for the rest of the run, so say goodbye, grapple worm, for now. And then we'll have another change of movement mechanics in just a bit. The big scary part of this cycle is over as long as I don't jump into the ceiling. In this part, I'm gonna do an extended slide and go across and then grab this last berry. And now, Threach, if you have something you would like to say, now would be the time.
Thank you so much, and I absolutely do. I want to let everyone know we are creeping up on $160,000 raised for Prevent Cancer Foundation. And one of the ways that we will get there are through donations, such as a $30 donation from Tactical Ferret, who says, Ice, you are an amazing runner and a huge inspiration. Good luck with Riv, and remember, you can always save time by plunking in memory crypts.
No, we will not do that. So, Tactical Ferret, Regon, Constructive Cynicism are three people who have really pushed the Rivulet story run to where it is now. And Tactical Ferret and Regon helped me quite a lot with optimizing a lot of the smaller things when I was learning the run. I really am a big Saint player. It's the big thing. Now we're changing move mechanics. You might already notice it a little bit. I am in 0G. It's going to turn on and off constantly. And now we get to talk a little bit about what's actually going on. This is not simply just funny creature game where we play the silly rivulet that does things. Although we are playing the silly rivulet that does things, this is still very much a very serious run with a lot of very hard things that you need to pull off. Right now we're a bit at the whim of the RNG of the cycles turning on and off, of the gravity turning on and off. And the tentacle isn't out, so that's good. So right now, big thing to talk about, also on the talk about the end of why I'm glad I'm here, being able to support the charity Prevent Cancer Foundation, that being, this is not good actually, give me a second, because I made too much sound. I don't like it in 0G, that's fine. Okay. The one big thing that's happening and why I'm glad I'm doing the Prevent Cancer Foundation charity is, as someone who has a brother that had cancer and then was able to fight through it, is something that personally is something that I care about a lot. Additionally, on the game side, and why it's very relevant on this end, is all this blue stuff. So we essentially climbed up a giant superstructure. We're in a giant superstructure suspended in the air, and this is a giant robot that we are in. We can go and meet the puppet of the robot, and he can talk to us through the puppet, but we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna run in and steal his power core because we're Rivulet and we do these things. And then we're gonna run away. But what's really happening, and if we did go and meet him, we learned that all this blue stuff is rot, or more accurately said, it is cancer. And okay, that's the annoying spot. That's good. So essentially, Pebbles is like, I am dying to this cancer. I will die to this cancer. I'm not going to be around too much longer. And so I want you to take my power core and bring it to my sister who has fallen down into the ocean not too much far away. And now that I've said the more serious part, and we'll talk a bit more about what goes on with that later. We've stolen the power core. I've also picked up a little blue thing a second ago. I'm gonna do the funny thing here. Ooh, I wanna do this. Now we've stolen the power core. I've also eaten a little glowing thing. The little glowing thing is legitimately one of 5 Pebbles' neurons. So I've eaten part of his brain, and if you now notice, there's a difference with my character, and that I'm now glowing. I've been enlightened upon eating a brain cell. Additionally, in the terms of the power cell, this is the rarefaction cell, ball or orb. I personally like to call it a ball because Rivet be balling right now. Right now I can turn it on. I can turn it on whenever I want. It is either I go faster in water when it's on, or if I'm in the air, I have much reduced gravity and otherwise will fall much slower, which will be coming into play in a bit. Again, we are in a superstructure suspended in the air. We went up the left side and entered from the bottom in underhang. We're gonna be exiting out directly where we came from, and then going down the right side, underside of the place, and then down the right leg until we get to shoreline, where looks to the moon. The other robot has fallen into the ocean. Now, as I make it through this last room here, do you have 2 or 3 donations? That would be great.
Absolutely. I want to give everyone an update on the UFO 50 upgrade incentive to upgrade Warp Tank Gold to Cherry. We have passed halfway. We are at 66% of that being made, and it has to be made through just a few more games, so let's make that happen. In the meantime, thank you so much to everyone helping for that incentive and for our total to hit $160,000. We got a $37 donation from Sneak Dog, who says, hello, GDQ. Just showing some love and wishing my favorite runner a great run. Don't forget our favorite tech and swallow.dll. Slug life.
It's true. Must swallow the DLL. If you have one more, that would be great.
Absolutely. We have a $100 donation from Chaos Set, who says, oh boy, a speed run of our favorite wet mouse. Count us in. Gonna enjoy this run of the unreasonably fast Scug.
We are the Scug Cat. I probably didn't say it earlier. I just kind of said Rivulet. We are a Slug Cat. Depending on how good I do in this run, I am either more Slug or more Cat. I think this run's going pretty well so far. No major issues. However, this is the killer cycle, the ender of runs more than others, mostly because of one of the DLLs in this next room. So DLLs, you can see one in the bottom right there, is a moving personification of the cancer itself. And so essentially, there's one that will 100% always be directly in our path every single time. That's a fun little drop there. And it'll be right here, depending on its... Ooh. Nice. Depending on how it acts, I can manipulate its AI a little bit, and that worked out really well. That shouldn't have really worked because I rubbed directly into the core. Essentially, it needs to grab me with one of its arms to actually be able to kill me. I don't think I'm going to make the cycle on this one. turned off. When I turn on the ball, it stays on it for a certain amount of time, and it goes a cooldown for a certain amount of time. Bunch of scary jumps here.
That was beautifully executed, by the way.
It's been something, that guy specifically has been the killer of so many runs that I've worked on the manipulation for him in particular, and I'm glad to be able to show off the good setup for it. This guy is in a good spot. Taking it a bit slow. Now we have passed the underhang section. We are now going down the leg in particular. And now I'm hoping to not see a nice man right exactly where that guy is. So the one problem, well, one thing about Rain World is that we're completely silent when we're on all fours, but the ball we are carrying is going to hit the wall as soon as I enter the room. That was good timing. We can go through enemies if we're both going through the same pipe between rooms, this game being room-based. So that worked out well there. And so entering that room was a bit awkward. We want to fall. Very nice. So Rivulet's arms are made of steel, of course. So we can just grab the pole, even though if we fell that full distance and hit the ground, we would die instantly normally. We saw our first guy in this room. The second guy, I hope, is not too much of a problem. I want to see where he is. That's good. Second drop is right here. Very nice. And then up, perfect. And the last little man here, awkward place, gonna make some noise. Kind of wish I didn't make noise now, because that was not how I wanted him to move. And now he's moving back into the really annoying place. If I can't see him, it's not great. Slow do it, so I can tell what's going on, and he can't hear me. Normally I just jump down, that's fine.
Oh.
But it's easy to accidentally get stunned, and then I'm just right where that guy is. We're now exiting the exterior, and we're entering Shaded Citadel, specifically an area called Memory Clips. We are gonna be in the shadow, or at least directly underneath the giant superstructure that was above us. Because we're really late in the timeline, we're second to last in the timeline, so much of this area has degraded and has now fallen down into the area we're going in now. So we're not out of the woods of annoying blue things. If we are grabbed by any of the wall tentacles, it's basically we die instantly, and we go back to a last save. Big jump. The ploink that Tactical Ferret was talking about, I would do in the next room, but it's really, really scary because it would be one that I'd have to do at a massive diagonal out of this small puddle where you can get stunned, the ball falls out of bounds, and then you just can't do anything. Also, we get to see Orange Lizard. Now, because Rivulet, we're so fast and we go places that we're really not going to see a lot of creatures. These are really the only lizards we're going to see. Orange Lizards, compared to every other lizard that has their own color and abilities, Orange Lizards, if one sees you, they all see you in a room. Another annoying section right here that I want to make sure goes well. Not the best of angles, but it worked. That DLL is really annoying. We can bump directly into its core and jump off of it, and sometimes it can still kind of catch up to us. Orange is in a bad spot. If the Orange Lizards have the high ground to you, do not challenge them. Just don't do it. Now, we are gonna go little jump over this, and now we're gonna be entering Shaded Citadel proper, where I get to see the 3 kelps that I hate. If you have one donation right now, Threach, that would also be great.
Absolutely. We have a $100 donation from Rando Man who says, "Go Wet Mouse, go fast and beat cancer."
Yes. Right. So I get to see the 3 kelps that I hate in just a moment. There's one. Essentially, they're giant gooey arms where only the tip can actually grab us. The second one's really annoying because it gets a lot of time to react to us getting close to it. And then the third one here. Goodbye. No more of that. We're gonna see spiders for the next 2 rooms here, so just be aware of that. Bunch of small spiders. Ooh, didn't get that quite right. Funny spiders that are scared of light and then will combine into a mecha spider that will try to kill us, as spiders do in real life, of course. Now, we're gonna do a big jump past this giant group of spiders. I'm gonna slowly scare high enough away. That's not great. Maybe there's a rock. Ooh, that's really unfortunate, actually. I'm gonna have to do that section again. What is the time that we're at? I think we're good to do that again. It's not the best place to have that issue. I haven't messed up that slide in a long time either. We'll go forward with this. That is really not a good death. That shouldn't happen either, because that's not a threat. But those spiders dip down much more than I would have liked. But we have accounted for an issue like that in the estimate. If we have that issue again, I can load a save and go from there, however. So now that means we get to do all the really hard part again, which is great. And as I get to the bit of annoying part in just a second, Threach, if you have a donation, that would be good.
You are getting so much love for this run. We have $25 from some dingus who says, so awesome to see Rain World at GDQ. Good luck on Underhang Iced.
Yes. So far that was not the issue, which is good. So it shouldn't be an issue the second time, of course. Now, that is, again, really unfortunate that I died there, because that's not something I should die to, but I kind of just went for it instead of waiting a little bit longer for them getting scared away, because we were getting a pretty decent time. Get to show this section off again. So one thing that this also allows me to get to talk about while we're doing this, so people understand, we're playing Rainworld Downpour, and so base game are the characters Monk, Survivor, and Hunter, while Downpour are the 6 new characters, with Rivulet being one of them. Downpour specifically, we're gonna have to do the long way, because this guy is in the way. Give me just a second. The one thing I want to talk about Downpour is that it is not made by the original developers, and was instead made by fan mod creators, that being the More Slugcats team, and a lot of other surrounding mods were combined together as official content for the Downpour update, which I was fortunate enough to work as QA for the More Slugcats team. The big thanks to Will, Bird, and Andrew, as they're the main 2 that I talked to for a lot of that. I'm gonna take that slow for a second. Big scary room again. I know it's kind of looking simple, but if I do one misinput, you kind of just jump straight into the void. So we're past that part.
The grapple worm was grabbing that, that
Yeah.
daddy long legs.
At least it's not going to grab us, or at least we're going to hope it doesn't do that in the next room. With this one daddy long leg, that was an issue earlier as well.
Yeah, something that you will see, like after dying and stuff, is that this game is super dynamic in how things occur. So everything in the environment is going to be different in terms of creatures and whatnot. So locations are going to be a little different. They spawn in the same place, but as time goes on, it's just they're going to be in different spots. If you want to talk something about that.
So the main thing about a lot of the creatures, we're going to be mostly dealing with DLLs as we have, of course. But the main thing about most of the creatures in this game is that they all have, ooh, that's a really bad spot. They all have their own personality values. I believe there are 6 generally. I'm trying to make sound here. So he moves backwards, so it's a bit unfortunate. Can't turn across the corner. All have personality values, and depending on the values, depends on how they react to certain stimulus, as well as how they... Okay. This man, as well as how they do certain RNG values on how they're going to move and otherwise. Moving across here again. I was really close, actually. And then last DLL again. Don't like this spot as usual, so I'm gonna go over here. I like it when he's a bit higher. And we're entering Shaded Citadel again, and we're not gonna jump into spiders. All right, if you have 2 more donations, that would be great.
Absolutely, and I'd actually like to give the chat an update on our incentives that are currently open to upgrade Warp Tank Gold to Cherry. We're running out of time on that one. We are just over $6,900 out of $10,000 to make that happen. And folks, we've just got a few games left. In addition, I want to remind everyone about the Super Meat Boy incentive to upgrade to all light levels. We need to raise $10,000 for that incentive, so please get those donations in. Thank you so much to Saren, who sends in $50 and says, Rivulet, go fast. Cheering on Iced for the great run. Less than 3.
Yeah, so Saren is another artist that made another piece of graffiti that we'll see in a bit. So we'll talk about that as it happens. So thank you for donation. And again, yeah, that's Super Meat Boy incentive. Very interested in seeing that one. Ball's gonna turn off, so I'm not gonna do that jump until it does. And Orange Wizard Land. No high ground havers today, but slightly annoying spots, so I waited till he got closer. And going into the big jump room. Jumping over.
Another thing that I don't know if we have mentioned is that this cycle is like very tough because you have to do everything kind of fast. You're on a timer, of course, and you have to reach a place very far away, all within that set timer. Otherwise, you will die. So we're kind of bound into going a little bit fast without
Yep, I
making
have
major
to
mistakes.
do certain things just to be able to have the time backflip here.
That was good.
So the one thing I want to talk about that I haven't talked about earlier is so as talking about with Pebbles, and he has a cancer and he's inevitably going to die to it, us taking the ball out will also inevitably doom him to fall into the ground, just like Looks to the Moon did. The main thing that's going on is that you may notice that I've gone much longer than the 4 to 6 minutes that I talked about that Rivulet has for before it rains. And that is because 5 Pebbles is actually the reason why it rains. He's doing so many calculations, and otherwise the rot is making him overheat a lot, that he needs a lot of water cooling. And so he evaporates a lot of water that causes the torrential rains. And because we took the ball out, the cycle timer has gone from that low cycle timer to the maximum cycle timer. So now I have 13 minutes and 20 seconds. All right, we're not gonna do stupid things with spiders today. Turn the ball on. Oh my goodness. Don't do this again to me. A little awkward slide over the bump. Okay,
All right.
there it is that time. All right. The slide's a bit awkward because you need a specific distance from the wall to actually get the wall pounce that you want from it, and while the ball is on as well, just because of how that works. Now we are in Shaded Citadel proper again, and we are I'm going to pay attention to that spider in the top left right now, because that's one of the big ones that can potentially be bad. It's good that I see him though, because it means he's not later on here. We get a big setup for these jumps here, and I'm also going to see their next graffiti. This is by Saren Stoner, Fahrenheit. AGDQ 2025, the ambient light is kind of fading it out on the left, but actually fitting it in the game and having it being ravaged by the in-game stuff is always cool to see. Now, while we're looking at that graffiti, I actually ate a karma flower. Now we're gonna talk about that. There'll be secret surprise for later about what that does. Otherwise, we are entering Shoreline here. Shoreline is where Looks to the Moon, the second robot we're bringing this power core to, has fallen into the ocean. And so we're gonna be going down into the ocean and putting the power core where it is. And Threach, if you have 2 donations for me, that would be a good time.
I sure do. We've got a $100 donation from Crab, who says, what a fantastic thing to see Rain World at AGDQ. The community of Rain World, especially speedrunning, has been nothing short of amazing, and I am happy to have met and chatted with many of them. I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. Love y'all.
Yeah, thank you, Crab.
Thank you so much. We've got a $37 donation from Shrub from Tomorrow, who says, manifesting good DLL casino with mine. Also, Shrub from Tomorrow redeemed Drop an Anvil on ICED.
Yes. So Shrub from Tomorrow and Regon are the two really big top speedrunners, and they pretty much hold most of the world records for a lot of the really big runs, where Shrub does generally the more basic slugcats, while Regon does the more new ones in the Downpour DLC. And I don't know if I just said that tomorrow, opposite, but they're both really big top runners. Crab is also a big community member. I meant to turn on the ball a little bit earlier to hit a specific timing as we fall down this section here. We're going to be going into an area called Submerged Superstructure. And so essentially what we're supposed to do is we go to Pebbles, we talk to him, he's like, please take my power core out and bring it to Moon. And then we go talk to Moon, and she's like, you need to go into the ocean, there's an access port nearby. We actually talked to neither of them, and then we're just gonna go straight where we need to. This is not good. I've not had that guy be there. So that is a aquapede. So in this world, there are centipedes. We saw a bunch of green ones earlier that were flying that are no problem. But centipedes are basically giant batteries. If both heads connect to you, you die instantly to electric shock. And the aquapedes are exceptionally annoying to deal with because they have perfect vision underwater.
So fast.
The fact I accidentally went by him without him killing me is crazy. Outside of that is also just him being there is surprising because he has to actually go in the way, which doesn't actually happen very often. But we're entering Submerged Superstructure. A lot of our crazy things are kind of coming to an end. There's one creature I'm hoping to not see, that being an eel lizard. We had it show up in practice, so it means it's going to show up in the worst possible place here. The main thing right now is that I gotta make sure I'm not too delayed, so I die to the end of cycle, that being the rain. With the underneath of 5 Pebbles' structure, as well as the area where we're gonna put the ball in, the area becomes electrified. That's unfortunate. I even tried to not get stunned there. Area becomes electrified right where the cutscene is, where I put the ball in if it is raining, because it doesn't want us to do the ending cutscene while the end of cycle is happening, which brings us and cuts us down a bit more time than we'd care for, because usually there's a bit of an end of cycle effect, and then we have like another 30 seconds before we would actually die to the rain. Now we're kind of hoping jetfish don't get too in the way here. Right now, none of them have really shown up. And these guys, of course, are going to bully me, or they're just gonna pretend I'm not here. That guy tried to go for me. And then we're going to see our best friend, the giant jellyfish. Did you know that giant jellyfish go moo? Well, that guy didn't make any sounds today, but giant jellyfish do in fact go moo. Maybe we'll hear them when we're up here. We have a big jump here. We're technically not supposed to do this jump, hence why the pipe is unmarked, but we want to do that jump as it saves a lot of time getting to where this ball needs to go. Now that we are entering the final stretch here, I'm looking for that eel lizard so he's not too much in the way. If you have about 2 donations, now would be a good time.
Absolutely, we do. We have a $33.33 donation from Haborb0, who says, Rivulet, be ballin'.
It's true.
Let be balling.
Thank you for that donation. Just want to remind everyone, we have some incentives that will be closing in a few runs, including the upgrade to all light levels for Super Meat Boy. You want to see more GDQ? I want to see more GDQ. Let's make that happen. Get your donations in and apply them toward that incentive.
Okay, I'm really looking for this eel lizard because it's shown up in basically a lot more practice runs that I'd care for. Normally he doesn't show up at all because he lives pretty far to the right. But if he shows up, I need to be able to react to him when he does. So in the bottom of the screen, I didn't talk about this before, but you'll see all these white dots. All the full dots are essentially the air that I have as Rivulet. Now, every time you press jump, that's horrible. We see him now. That could have been a worse spot in a screen transition. So that was pretty good. every time I press jump underwater, I do a boost underwater, but we overall get less distance when we do that. The music stopping there is not a great sign because it means the end of the cycle. This is the room that will kill me if I am too slow. So I want to make sure I get there. But basically this whole cycle, I need to not press jump in that last section. And I'm gonna turn on the ball. I can quit out. That karma flower I ate earlier. So we need our maximum karma to open the last gate of this run. And I have to quit out to skip a cutscene because the game saves right when the cutscene starts, when I put the ball in. And because it counts as a death when I quit out, and I need to remain at maximum karma, we need a karma flower which reinforces my karma. And instead of me going down in karma level when I die, it will drop the flower on the location of death instead. And so now we are in Pittsburgh. And you know what happens in Pittsburgh? That's right, it's snowing. And I'm sure everyone's really glad to see this right now. I'm pretty sure it's a blizzard outside if I'm not wrong. Otherwise, the main thing that's happening with Rivulet here is now that we've powered off 5 Pebbles, and he was a huge source of heat in the area, so we're finally getting a bit more natural occurrences happening, that being it being much colder in the area and it no longer raining, and instead snowing. And I'm looking for certain creatures. There is one now. I hit the pipe. That was funny. There is a scavenger.
Scavengers.
Oh, great.
They didn't show up at all in practice here.
These ones are decidedly not chill, but it's fine. This one might not be dead, which he is not.
Mira's boulder?
I'm sure it's
Oh
fine.
my god.
All right. Well, we killed all the scavengers. That was pretty nice. We killed all but one. He left, though. So scavengers, compared to other creatures, they don't have a specific den. If they exist in a region, they can exist anywhere in a region. So we don't often run into them, but when we do, it's generally not a great time, especially if they have stats where they're really aggressive. So we want to avoid that. This is the last gate of the game. The run is actually going to be ending in just a few rooms here. And so I'll talk a bit about the story and what we'll see in the ending cutscene as I talk about a few other things. Essentially, what has happened is I put the ball in, and Moon has now been powered up. As we're going to be going through these next rooms, we're going to notice that it has the same effect that 5 Pebbles had before we took out the ball at his place and turned off his power, and that the low grav will turn on and off. I'm going to do some pole hops as I can. Ooh, didn't really want that one. That's fine. And we can know that Moon has actually been turned on. Moon is in the next room after this one. The moment we enter that room, it will be time. And so once Moon has been powered, she's going to be trying to contact 5 Pebbles. And time. So yeah. So we're not going to go into the huge amount of lore of why things are the way they are, why Moon is in the ocean or otherwise, but essentially Moon and 5 Pebbles, something bad happened. They haven't talked to each other in ages, mostly because Moon's fallen in the ocean and 5 Pebbles feels really guilty about everything. But now that Moon's powered, she's going to try to contact him. It's been an unknowable amount of time since they've ever talked to each other, and they're going to talk to each other just for a bit before he inevitably falls into the ground himself. But that is everything for the run. We're going to see the cutscene play out. There's a few things I want to talk about, and that being some things that are behind me. I believe you can see it up on screen right in the middle there. You can see a lot of icons, and now all of these icons here are 3D printed and are specific icons of either people or prominent people in the community or friends of mine or the developers themselves, with the top left being Andrew FM. You can hold it there for now.
Stand up.
Andrew FM and Wilbird, and Riv Otter also is the community organizer, and I believe they helped get the Downpour shirt, so you can order off the Yeti right now. I would recommend that if you're really into Rain World. Additionally, on the top right here, we have Saren and Proler. Those are the 2 artists that we saw graffiti from earlier, and definitely check them both out. Proler art, and I believe it's Saren on Twitter and Blue Sky, and then Fahrenheit on Twitch for Saren. And then in the other top right, another thing that's going on with the community right now is a Rain World Bingo event, a lockout bingo event. We've been working on a mod for the game with Nasu, creating Rain World Bingo, and right now we're in the top 8 matches. So only 8 teams left of our 2v2 lockout bingo, and that is on the Rain World Speedrunning Twitch channel if you want to see more Rain World speedrunning. See people way better than even what I did this run, especially without a death in Shaded Citadel. Well, things just happen sometimes. Yeah.
Go bingo.
Otherwise, there is the Rain World event Discord, which is also connected to the Twitch, where you can talk to other people doing Rain World speedrunning, or the general Discord has their speedrun channel as well. The last things I want to say here is, with the other plush that we have here on the couch, there is going to be the next DLC for this game coming out in March, that being is the Watcher, not the Wanderer. I almost said it wrong again.
Watcher.
It is the Watcher. So very excited for that to come out. If you are interested in this game, I would definitely recommend trying out. Is not the same as a lot of other games. A lot of exploration. You just kind of be a creature, play as the characters through Downpour, a lot more story-based. I think they're really great on how it does a lot of things and bring a lot of people into it. Very interested to see how the Watcher goes. Again, I've been ICED. You can find me on ICED or Far Too Cold on Twitch and the Blue Sky and Twitter space. This is Whitepaaws. Find Whitepaaws on Twitch. And I believe that's everything for me. Thank you all for watching my run of Rivulet Story.